The new mid-season update is here, and of course, once again, the game is broken. And by that I mean plenty of bugs, glitches, and also secret new features that weren't mentioned in the patch notes. So let's get things started with the first problem, and that is with Watson and her brand new perks. Because Watson got some very insane buffs this season, and one of them actually comes in the form of her brand new level 3 perk, which gives small healing items double effect. So if you pop a shield cell, you will heal 50 shields, and if you pop a syringe, you'll heal for 50 health. Now I tested if this would stack with a gold helmet, which also gives those healing items double effects, to see if it would give them quadruple effect, and it doesn't. However, this ran us into another issue. If you drop a gold helmet while this perk is active as Watson, then it will remove its effect entirely. Meaning, if you have this perk and then use a shield cell, it will only heal for 25 shield again, thus completely eliminating the perk despite having it equipped. Now, this is definitely something we'll probably see fixed pretty quickly, especially since Apex Legends recently added their new fast patch system, allowing them to fix certain bugs and getting updates out in a very short time frame, which is something they never used to be able to do. But Watson's extra healing isn't the only thing that got taken away from us. Have you tried inspecting your hands in the latest update? Because if you don't have an heirloom equipped and you're trying to inspect your fist, you simply can't in this update. They were clearly changing some things around. Maybe we're getting new inspect animations for the Legends hands, but whatever they were doing, they clearly just somehow disabled the ability to inspect your hands. Now, you can still inspect weapons as you'd like, and you can inspect heirlooms, so I guess that's more reason to go and buy an heirloom, right? But speaking of heirlooms, there is some new heirloom effects. For Horizon's heirloom, it turns out in the update, Horizon's heirloom got some secret new visual effects. When you're spinning the heirloom, you can see it has more effects going around it, which probably tells us that we're getting a Horizon heirloom recolor in the next season. This normally happens when an heirloom recolor is on the way. Now, this one's a little bit different though, as Horizon's heirloom already has a lot of animations. It's not like the older heirlooms, like the Bloodhound heirloom or the Wraith heirloom or the Pathfinder heirloom, where they can give it a bunch more animations. Horizon's heirloom is a lot newer, so I don't know if this means for certain it's getting a recolor, but we do see them tweak things when they are prepping a recolor, so keep an eye out for that. Now, what would you do if I told you that they decided to nerf Caustic in the latest update? That's right, Caustic. The guy who everybody has been begging to get buffed since he is such a terrible legend right now, especially since they're buffing everybody else. They've just buffed Watson and left Caustic in the dust. Well, Caustic also got nerfed in this update, and that is, for some reason, his caustic traps now get highlighted in red, making them even more visible to enemies, especially when encased in the gas. So yeah, for some reason they did this, and there might be some light at the end of the tunnel. Because why would Caustic's traps have been affected if they weren't meddling with them in the developer build? I think what this is the result of an upcoming Caustic buff / rework. Now that we've seen huge buffs to Watson and Vantage, I think it's only a matter of time before we see that kind of treatment for Caustic. So I'm expecting the Caustic treatment, pardon the pun, to be coming pretty soon. But for the meantime, don't try and hide your Caustic traps because it just won't work. There is another glitch in the new update that actually is extremely powerful, and that is the range of being able to interact with the respawn beacons has increased dramatically. Now, it seems to be a glitch, but if you start interacting with a respawn beacon, be it a mobile respawn beacon or one of the static ones on the ground, if you start the interact and then move far away, you will be able to keep interacting. So if you slide past a respawn beacon and interact with it, you can just continue to slide away and still respawn your teammate. You could also use this with Horizon's Tactical or an Octane jump pad and literally respawn your teammates from a completely different position. Definitely a bug, but a pretty funny one. We also got some interesting new additions in the recent update. Features that they didn't tell us about. For example, on the Legend Select screens, when you hover over a legend, it now highlights it more obviously. It kind of pulses and then this white gradient kind of goes over them, making it a little bit more new user-friendly. I don't know, it's new, it's cool. I like to see them adding new things like this. We also have brand new Mastiff animations, because when you're ADSing with the Mastiff, it had the issue where if you would shoot as fast as possible, the Mastiff would never recenter properly, and obviously this would make it much harder to aim with. Now, there are new Mastiff animations, and you can see it's a lot tighter and faster, and no matter how fast you shoot your Mastiff, it will always recenter in time before your next shot. So yeah, definitely looks clean. I like it. Also, alongside all the Vantage buffs, we know that her sniper got an insane buff where its laser is no longer visible until you shoot. And once you shoot, the laser will be visible for 15 seconds. Now, to save you from having to keep count for 15 seconds, in order to know if your laser will still be visible or not, there's actually now a new little timer in the bottom right on her weapon UI. So when you shoot, it will now play a 15-second timer that will recharge every time you shoot. So you can see if the laser will still be active and plan accordingly so that you don't accidentally reveal yourself and your entire team. Now, taking things back to even more glitches, players have noticed that now if you decide to ping, say, a weapon attachment because you're looking for it in order to tell your teammates that you need that kind of item, like if I were to ping a light magazine to request it from my teammate, instead of verbally announcing that I'm looking for that specific loot, it will still pop up in the top right, but it will also pop up the nearest arsenal of that ammo type. And your legend will audibly say that there's a weapon arsenal here, rather than saying that you need the loot. So it will be much easier for your teammates to miss that you've pinged a certain attachment. And I just prefer the legend to still say out loud what you're looking for, even if it also pings the arsenal as well for you. It just seems like it will be better for solo queue players who rely on this system to communicate to their teammates. Now, players who are lucky enough to own the Power Sword Universal Heirloom also notice some changes with this. First up, the third-person animation seems to have been changed, and now when you holster the power sword, it just kind of goes through your legs and floats around. It looks absolutely terrible, but this does also affect the gameplay because it now has this kind of white glow around it, and apparently this is visible at all times, even if Mirage has this equipped and goes invisible. During his passive, if he is reviving a teammate, the white glow will still be visible and you'll be able to see the Mirage. I mean, talk about pay to lose. And while we're on the topic of heirloom rarity items, right now in the Future Icons milestone event, you can get Watson's prestige skin. And people were upset to find out that this was, once again, another milestone event. However, there is actually some slightly positive news when it comes to this event, and that is the fact that it actually turns out to be cheaper than even collection events where we used to get prestige skins in, because there is only 25 items in this event, which is a lot less than the usual amount of items in milestone events. So the total price to complete this event and guarantee you get the Watson prestige skin is around $150. Now, a typical collection event used to cost around $160 in Apex, so this is technically a cheaper prestige skin and much cheaper than your typical milestone event, which would normally cost around $260. Now, of course, you're getting less items, so it's up to you to weigh up the cost, but I think this is better if you are just going for the Watson prestige skin, as it allows you to get it cheaper. However, I'm still not on board with the gambling style of having to open more and more packs to try and get the item you want, rather than being allowed to just pay for the item you want. That wraps up this video. Lots of changes that we didn't know about and tons of glitches once again in the brand new mid-season update. It wouldn't be Apex without it, but hopefully they can get a lot of these turned around fast with their new fast patch, and they have been fixing quite a few bugs. They've posted about it on Twitter straight after the mid-season rolled out. So let me know if you found some crazy new bugs in the new season, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.